With that, I'd like to actually turn to somebody who does debt markets all the time, and perhaps you can talk about other things if you wish. But I would like to have Goldman Sachs, Colin Coleman, talk a little bit about broadening the issue of access to debt to help finance projects in addition to equity. And then anything else that you want to mention, but within a space of an elevator speech, if you like.
It sounds like a warning.
Well, so far I've not used the hammer, and I'm trying to avoid it.
Does my reputation precede me? Just kidding. Wonderful to be here. Love being in New York, so any excuse to be here. Anybody invite me to New York, please. So what, if I can just say what's on my mind.
Sure.
I think, you know, everything that's been said has been high quality. I think the problem with capital markets in Africa is that the truth is outside of South Africa, you're really talking about illiquid capital markets. So you're talking about illiquid structuring largely. I mean, there's sovereign bond issues. You know, Ghana is in the market right now with a sovereign bond issue. There's many of the sovereigns that have gone for these bond issues, but the real issue is how are people financing the corporates and the entrepreneurs, and what is the access to capital markets. So just, you know, the numbers are, and I watch it every single day on my screen, you know, $800 billion on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, trading $2 billion a day on the equity capital markets. The next biggest is Nigeria, which trades $20 million a day, and they have a $50 billion market cap, and the market caps are shrinking in dollarized terms as the currencies depreciate. So the only really, from a global capital market point of view for equity capital markets, public market trading exposure of the Wellingtons, the Fidelities, et cetera, is through the Johannesburg Stock Exchange as a means to play, like in the old days, you know, Australian companies were the way to play China. That's very much the reality today. It's very difficult to get liquid exposure to Dangote Cement because he owns 92% of it personally, even though it's a $15 billion company. So how do you get liquid exposure that you can go in and out of to these kind of companies? So that's question one. Many markets like Angola that have been talking about creating equity capital markets that haven't got exchanges, then the governments are not issuing paper, they're not listing the state-owned enterprises. Many of the state-owned enterprise sector are the larger earners. Sonangol, for example, Unitel in Angola. These are the companies that we would love to have exposure to, but you can't get as long as they're not listed and they're held in close hands. So this is a problem. The second problem is convertibility of currencies. So it's not just the depreciation, but the question of ability to convert Naira into dollars, for companies to invest capital in some of these countries where it's very difficult to get the permissions to invest and then to get the money out. So it's a limitation on capital investment, and we've got a lot of companies who are effectively asking us to make complicated structuring trades in these countries to help them either finance capital because it's difficult for them to get money in, but it's also difficult for them to get money out. So this is an emerging problem. If you take Nigeria, for example, the fact is the Buhari presidency was fantastic news for a peaceful transition politically, but so far it's been very, very difficult to get fiscal and monetary progress in an administration that is waiting to have the full administration put in place. So this is a concern in a country as big and as important as Nigeria. And you get countries, you know, like Ghana, for instance, which are issuing sovereign bonds, but the underlying fiscal health is, you know, being questioned, and it's difficult to establish the sustainability, particularly in a time where we have the US Fed increasing interest rates, we have the commodity problem, and China's transformation from effectively an infrastructure and exporting economy to a consumer economy, which is effectively causing a lot of the slowdown in the commodity world, which is impacting these underlying fiscal ratios of countries like Angola or Ghana. So I just throw out there, I guess I've used up my 3 minutes, but I just throw out there these problems. I would say, we are seeing a lot of evidence of progress. So just using the simple 3 examples, Goldman Sachs helped IHS buy into MTN Nigeria towers. We raised $2 billion. We helped raise significant amount of equity capital from sovereign wealth funds, and we helped them do that. That was a very large event. We also happened to be principal investors in IHS. We helped Helios sell part of their stake in Equity Bank. I see James Mwangi here, and there was significant interest in that situation. And we helped Actis sell Globalec for $750 million. It was announced a couple of weeks ago. So the private equity world is playing, Pradeep, a very, very important role. Don is involved in that. The sovereign wealth funds are playing an important role because of the liquid nature of these markets. Those sources of private capital are going to play more of an important role. The key challenge to regulators is, come on, let's move faster in reforming the capital markets. Let's allow for indigenous capital markets. This is what China did. China had no capital markets. It's going through its own indigestion now, but effectively raised $300 billion from selling minority stakes in state-owned enterprises and helped reform their economy as a result. Very, very important contribution. We have to get on with it.
Thank you very much, Colin.
Doing business in Africa. You can't afford to be without Africa Investor.